Welcome to the weekly VUU football presser with head coach Dr. Alvin Parker. Coach, you had a big win this past week over St. Augustine's, 47-7. If you could give us some comments on the game, and then we'll open it up to questions.
I thought it was a well put together game plan by all the coaches, and I think the guys did a good job of following it. We took it down on the road. It's our fourth game on the road of the 5 games we've played. So I like the way the guys are responding. Maybe one shy a little bit of our goal right now. I kind of think we expect to be 5-0 right now. We thought we was working to that. A little bit shy of that, but we're going into divisional play now. So
Keep going.
we're going into divisional play now. So every game matters. So we got to make sure that we come through everything and just make sure we go into every game with that mentality.
All right, we'll open up the floor to questions.
Hey, Alvin, John O'Connor here from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. I see Jada got some work down in St. Aug, and wonder how he looked, how he felt, and he come out of that thing 100%.
Of course he did. I think the goal when we went into the game was just to kind of give him a few carries and kind of see, because we knew, we had enough to kind of carry the load. But he did a pretty good job. I think he had about maybe like 7 to 8 carries or somewhere in that ballpark, So he felt a good energy from it. So, that was the biggest thing, but we didn't want to pile too much on him, his first game back. So, again, Curtis carried the load this past weekend, and, he did a good job with it.
Hey, if I could just follow up by asking, would then Jada's role sort of be re-enhanced as you move forward? Or are you just going to keep him in sort of a reduced role for a while?
No, I think, as much as he can handle, as much as is what we're going to give him, so, he went through practice pretty good today, looking good, just getting better every day. I think last week he had a good week of practice, which led, me to kind of say, we'll give you a few carries this week, just in terms of what the game plan was. But, he's kind of jumped right back and he's looking full strength now. So, we'll see how it goes the rest of the week, and that'll determine how we work things on Saturday.
Could you say what he's recovering from?
I think everybody know it. If you've seen it on film, probably a leg injury. That's probably all I'll kind of go about it with that. But in terms of just like his ability to kind of bounce back from it's been great for us. Like I said, it was holding him out. I think he probably could have been ready 2 weeks ago, probably, but I don't think he was 100% at that point. And he's getting better and back to his full strip every day.
Yeah, just again from me, sorry. Lastly, how did the Panthers sort of perhaps improve in his absence and maybe fill the gaps a little bit?
We have a ton of guys on offense that can make plays. So, again, it's kind of hard to see that because he makes, a bunch of plays himself. But I think it gave some other people a chance to make some plays. I think, I think you looked at it Saturday, maybe 5 to 6 guys that scored, touchdowns differently than the name you commonly hear, Jada Bias. So that's something that's good. But we have a lot of guys on offense that can make plays. So, it was good to see some other guys make plays the last, I think, 10 quarters that he has not played.
Thanks, Alvin.
Hey, Coach, if I can ask, I know you mentioned about you wanting to improve your depth on the offensive line. Can you speak on how they have maybe improved since fall camp to have 3 running backs be named offensive back of the week through the first 5 weeks of the year? I know that says a lot about what they have done up front.
Absolutely. I think you can't have an offensive back of the week without having an offensive lineman of the week, so to speak. But I think Saturday probably 12 guys got dirty up there, that played, in terms of us kind of putting those guys in later in the game and getting some guys some action. So, it's a hungry group. I think Coach Brown does a great job coaching those guys and keeping those guys ready. So, that the depth can show. Again, throughout the season, we played a few guys up there, in roles that probably been a little different than anybody has probably seen them in. But, those guys have responded, and it's a bunch of guys up there that can play, and they're definitely the engine to the car.
You've used a 2-quarterback system a lot this year. What have you liked about that situation, and could we see that moving forward?
It's different for me because I'm learning from it every week. I have never done it in my career, so until this year. But to have 2 guys that are just as talented as one another, it's hard not to give both of those guys a chance. For instance, you have even if you look, Jada Bynes is an All-American, but we still give Curtis Allen a chance. We still give Rashad Jackson a chance. So we're having Christian as well as RJ both capable of leading us and winning us football games. I want to give both of those guys a chance. You know, again, it's been something a little different I've done throughout my career, but again, I'm learning from it week to week, and I think it's something that's going to, you know, propel some things going forward. But both of those guys had the capability of leading this offense.
And if I can, one more follow-up. What were the conversations like with the two quarterbacks, given what you had just said? Both want to be the starter. You've never really had this situation like that. So how did they handle that conversation of we're going to probably split snaps during the game between you two?
I think they're both extremely mature. You know, that's the first thing. I mean, but I think at the quarterback position, you have to be mature. You know, but those two guys are extremely mature. They cheer each other on. They help each other. You know, so it wasn't hard at all. You know, and I probably had some times in the past that probably would have been a tougher conversation. You know, if I had done that, but it hasn't been with those two guys. They support one another. You know, again, they kind of play off of one another. So, you know, when they come to the sideline, you'll see one kind of patting the other one up, coaching them up, making sure, or giving them high fives if you do something good. You know, and the way they play has been, you know, phenomenal. So, you know, they led our offense.
Hey, Coach, it's Gary Stein calling from Baltimore. Hopefully I'll be doing your game on the 21st against Lincoln. And I'm just getting more familiar with the program. So excuse me if this has already been talked about. But I did want to talk about the two quarterback situation. Was there anything specific that motivated you to do this for, as you say, like the first time in your career, you're not really familiar with doing this? Was there anything specific that that you wanted to address?
I mean, it was just the battle that started in the spring. You know, those guys battled, and when we came out of the spring, you know, we said to ourselves, we have 2-1s, and we said, you know what, it might figure itself out in camp, and it might be something that we can kind of, you know, name a starter in camp. But we went through camp as well, and it was the same thing. You know, we came out, we felt like we had 2-1s. So, you know, that's what put me in a situation where I never felt, you know, it was always when one guy maybe separated a little bit, the other guy caught up, then he maybe separated a little bit, then the other guy caught up. So it was always something that was good between the two of them. So, you know, it led us to kind of doing what we've been doing the last 5 games.
Do they present a different problem perhaps for the opposing defense? Is there a change up there that can benefit you?
I think they both are capable of doing the same things, which makes it a little bit easier. You know, some people that have done a system like this probably say, you know what, one's a thrower, one's a runner. But both of those guys are pretty much dual threat type of guys. So they can pretty much do the exact same thing. So they don't necessarily present something that the other one doesn't, you know, which is a good thing because, you know, we don't necessarily have to alter anything when one is in, you know, versus when the other is in. So, you know, nothing that's been a big separation.
And then, Coach, let me ask one final question. I think, you know, it's human nature after you come off a 40-point win to feel, you know, pretty good about yourself, obviously. You do start division play this week against another team that has no wins that you're coming in against in terms of the league. How do you prevent, like, you know, an overconfidence or maybe a little swagger, you know, that you want to try to prevent that from happening so you can get them focused on the opponent?
I think, like I said, we have a group that loves being coached, you know, so we still coach them hard no matter who we're playing. And then with Elizabeth City, you know, their record really doesn't reflect, I think, the type of teams they have. You know, Coach Hilliard was on our staff, and he helped me kind of build this thing here. You know, he's the head coach down there now. You know, and they're going into his second year, so it's a bunch of familiarity when it comes to this game. You know, in terms of them knowing our style, knowing what we're gonna do, and everything like that. But you know, we know Coach Hilliard is a great coach. He has a great staff. You know, and those guys will be ready. You know, and we're not gonna necessarily pay attention to the record because I really don't think that's an indication of the type of team that they are.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, Alvin, are there any benefits to playing so many road games?
I thought it would be, you know, but it hasn't. All 4 of the victories have come on the road, you know, so it's hard to say that, you know, per se, but it just requires a different type of focus, like I said, when you hit the road, you know, because you're packing it all up and taking it somewhere else. But I think our kids have responded extremely well, you know, so, you know, I don't think that's been an issue or problem. I think it's been something that those guys have adapted to and just, you know, rolling with it and, you know, and they're enjoying it. You know, when the bus comes, kind of like they expect the bus to pull up on Friday and get on it. So, you know, it's something that we've kind of, you know, embraced, for lack of better words. And and we're gonna take it on. We're not gonna matter as long as we get to somewhere on Saturday that it's gonna be 100 yards long and 53 yards wide. I think those guys will be ready to play.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach, what have you liked about Curtis this season? I know he's had back-to-back 100-yard games. He had some issues with fumbling last year, but he seemed like he has put that on the back burner and has played really well for you guys.
He's played well. I think some of those, mistakes that he probably made in the past have just come from being young. And youthful. And when you rely on a freshman running back like we did last year with him, some things are going to happen. There's going to be some growing pains, but I think those growing pains that we had last year, we're kind of enjoying the fruits of the labor from that. So anytime you play those young guys, you got to be willing to roll with those mistakes that they're going to make. And just kind of wait for it to be so to speak, blessed in the future, and he's really blessing us, with the way he's performing. I felt like maybe, we be in a position to have somebody that was going to lead the league in rushing, at this point in the season. A lot of us probably thought it was going to be Jada Byers, but no matter what, it's a Virginia Union running back, and that running back happens right now to be Curtis Allen, so we're happy to see that.
Hey, Coach Ryan Pierce, I'll be doing the game in about 10 days. Just looking back at your last, I think, 3 seasons, your last 12 road games, I think you've won, if I'm counting this up right. Have you ever had a stretch like this in your coaching career where you've been so good on the road for so long? 12 straight wins is pretty impressive.
That's news to me. I didn't know that one, Ryan. So I usually count on Jim to give me those notes, but that's something. And wow. So I think we're doing a heck of a job as a coaching staff. I think of just getting those guys prepared to kind of, take on those challenges that you get on the road, and with us having such a talented team and such a sizable team, we have a pretty large team. We can't take everybody. That's probably the only, part that I really don't like about the road. It's a lot of guys that work hard during the week that, we're having so many of them, we don't get the chance to take everybody when it's time to go. But like I said, I think it takes a different type of focus, and I think we've got that focus, and it's showing. But I appreciate that stat. That's pretty neat.
I think looking right now, I think the last loss was September 4th, 2021. I think I'm looking at this right, Hampton maybe on the road. But anyway, yeah, great stretch, impressive.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. So one of the things that I kind of noticed in last week's win was you held St. Aug to negative yardage rushing, and you haven't really talked much about the defensive line. Can you talk a little bit about what the game plan was, if that was part of the game plan to, try to stop the rush, and talk a little bit about those guys?
I appreciate you asking that, Chris, because it's hard not to pay attention to that. Those guys are number one in the nation against the run. I think that's the second game this season that they've given up negative yards. And I think right now they're probably giving up about maybe 25 to 30 yards a game, somewhere in that range. So those guys are doing an excellent job. We entered the season with 2 preseason all-conference guys, and Amani Burden and Isaac Anderson. And those other guys are playing to that level too. You see a lot of plays being made by Isaiah Dickens. You're seeing a lot of plays being made by Jockey Hilliard. And then we have some guys that come in reserve type of roles and spare those guys, and they're making plays too. So that group as a whole is doing their job. And they're helping our defense. And helping them put up the type of numbers that we're putting up right now on that side of the ball. So if I had to say, the thing that I'm happy about the most, of course, everybody know that the offense sells tickets and gets people excited and all that, but defense wins championships. So, I think the way we're playing on defense right now is superb. Our defensive staff is doing a heck of a job, and all the kids over there are responding and coming out week after week and making a bunch of plays. So I really appreciate you for observing that, Chris. So that's something that, I want to make sure I highlight those guys because they don't get talked about enough.
And my other question is, your opponent this week, Elizabeth City, they've had a couple of games where they've been able to score in bunches. So, that's one thing that is a positive about them. Can you talk a little bit about the challenge that a team like that, certainly hungry for another win, poses to your group?
I mean, I think, everybody at this point in the season wants to win, and people are going to find ways to claw out wins at this point in the season. So, we have to be ready for that. I think it's just another game. You can't really pay attention to any of the outside noises or people probably telling you, how good you're not or how good you are or anything like that. You just have to line down and play ball. We know what Elizabeth City can do. Again, they have a very well-versed coaching staff that are good. So Coach Hilliard has done a great job down there putting them guys together and also putting that team together. So he knows the formula. Like I said, he's been here, with me. So not to say I gave it to him or anything like that. He's done it himself. But I know he's a great coach, and I know he's going to be ready for anything that we had to throw at him. So we got to be ready for them also.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I've got one I want to throw in. How you doing this afternoon, Coach?
Great. I appreciate you joining.
No problem, no problem. I noticed for the first time in a long time, the South won the crossover matches between the North with a 10-8 margin. And as you go into play within your own division, what is it going to take for you guys to separate yourselves and come out and being in the North?
I thought somewhere somebody said it was like equal. I thought it was like 10-10. You might be.
It was 10-8. It was 10-8.
10-8, but it just shows the parity of the league. I think, one year could be one thing, the next year could be something else. It just shows the parity. You had some guys that, people necessarily didn't pick to win some games, winning games. So, which means that, any given Saturday, you have to be ready, so, and that's what football is all about. Everybody wants to win. Everybody, is preparing their guys to win. And we have a bunch of good coaches and a bunch of good teams in this league that, again, on Saturday are showing up. So, what people probably expect of the old years and some years back where they probably expect people to be getting blowed out or anything like that, people are winning games. So, that just shows you that, from the coaching side of things, you have to have your guys ready no matter who you're playing.
And my final question, with 3 excellent running backs that you have in that running back room, what's going to be the determining factor as who gets the bulk of those carries, especially in the time in fourth quarter? Is it going to be hot hand? Is it going to be scheme is what you pick up on film? What's going to be that determining factor is which one of those guys you're going to run with?
I think it's probably like that old school Madden, whichever one of those guys are blinking, that's showing that they kind of juiced up. But we really don't have that. I think, we just take advantage of having that many good guys that, whatever the game is kind of calling for, whatever kind of game, those type of game those guys are having, we're going to get those guys the ball. But I think as a group, all of them are able to produce. So no matter how we go with it or the size, sometimes I don't know who had the ball the most until, afterwards. And I maybe look at the stats and see, oh, he had this many carries, because it's about, the culture that we have here, everybody that, just buys into it, and it doesn't matter necessarily who gets the ball or how this person is going to get it. But, we want to make sure that we're doing enough to win. Whoever we have the guy they're going to get that ball to win, that's what we're going to do.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck on Saturday.
Thanks.
A couple of housekeeping items. The 12 road games wins in a row is a school record. The old record was 8, set back in 1972 and 73. Brady Myers set a school record by hitting his 46th straight extra point. The old record was 43, done by Roderick Copeland in 1981. And the VUU rushing defense is currently number 1 in the NCAA Division II.
Appreciate that, Jim.
No problem. Are there any other questions for Coach Parker? All right, Coach. Thank you. We'll be back here next Tuesday at 2:30 p.m.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Coach.